Said this week that you didn't think putting bankers in jails would stop the financial crime.
Yes, it will!
Hey!
Of course, I thought what he meant was putting bankers in jail would not be a sufficient deterrent. I thought the next words coming out of his mouth would be, we should behead them.
Hang the bastards!
Let's hear it for banker death.
Yes!
Hey!
Hang the bastards at town hall with all the rest of the bastards! Hang them all!
I love it! I love it! So, we had the famous Jamie Diamond as a tapeworm. I'm thinking I want to expand that a little bit. I got a little space up here. So I think this is Plucky. So, Plucky, what happened to you? So you were, from what I understand, you were just a normal person doing your job, and then along came neoliberalism back in the Thatcher's days. You started to lose your feathers.
No, she's fucking Plucky, alright?
I see. And then what happened, Plucky? Well, you got a job as a stockbroker, did you? I see. So you must have made a lot of money back then in the 1980s.
I did a lot of cocaine and alcohol and prostitution. You know, in the UK, cocaine and prostitution are now going to be considered part of the GDP. Did you know that? Did you read that? In Italy and in the UK, if you do cocaine and you fuck a lot of prostitutes, the GDP is going to be boosted.
That's incredible, Plucky. I mean, you're not telling tall tales. This is actually. Plucky, calm down. Look at it. Plucky, what's that?
Fuck you.
So Stacey Herbert pointed out to me that the government could simply give everyone a house for 100% mortgage, and they could extract $1,000 a day. The unemployment solved problems. Completely solved. Right? It goes up $1,000 a day, you pull it out of the bank, go shopping. And you're adding to GDP if you go to prostitutes, don't coke. What a paradise. Free house, free blow, free prostitute. That's fantastic. It's Shangri-La. So I have a special reenactment I was going to do of 9/11, my 2-minute version. It's highly controversial.
No.
It's highly controversial, and
it.
you know, I don't want to offend anyone with this incredibly controversial because, you know. So first of all, I need, in order for this to work, first I need to borrow a lighter. Can't tell where this is going. I want to demonstrate. Oh, thank you, sir. Step right up, fine fellow. Nice to meet you. Hello. What's your name, sir? Mark. Thank you.
It will blow your hand off.
So the thing about 9/11 is that what's interesting about it, and I worked on Wall Street for many years, and you know, I know a lot of people down there, and I know the industry very well. The pieces are emerging that this is what the story that I've pieced together, that is a good poetic analysis and metaphor for everything we deal with in modern life today can be understood if you understand the story that happened to 9/11. So we'll go back to 2001. We're in New York. It's a blue sky. Now, for you people that live in Britain, in other parts of the world, the sky sometimes is blue. Okay? If you haven't been off the island, there's a color the sky gets. And there's this big yellow ball in the sky. They call it the sun. And sometimes your skin will get like a little flush color. The sun rays hit your skin. That's what happens off the island. Don't panic though. Just don't panic. So there we are on another island, Manhattan. Manhattan. And it's a beautiful day, September 11, 2001. And then out of the sky comes the death plane. Dun, 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 dun. Okay, it's being hijacked. Uh-oh, something's wrong. It's not going where it's supposed to go. Dun dun, dun dun, dun dun. Ooh, it's heading for New York. It's heading for New York. Flash cut, forward. Here's the North Tower.
Oh, it looks so absolutely fantastic. Oh, I'm making money all day long. I work for Jamie Dimon. I make money all day by trading derivatives and ripping people off all over the world because I'm a fucking shyster. That's right. Yay for me, I'm a financial terrorist. Yeah, I work here. Oh, it's so blue, it's so beautiful.
Dun dun, dun dun, dun dun, dun dun.
Oh my God, oh!
That's the North Tower. That's only the first act of this drama. Okay, now. Cut to CNN.
We've just got a report that a fucking plane hit the North Tower of the World Trade Center.
Dun dun, dun dun, dun dun. Oh my God, oh my, is it an accident? What happened? Is it terrorism? Ah! Alright, there's the South Tower. Okay, now here's where the story gets interesting, and this is what's the beautiful analogy, beautiful metaphor for the world. There are brokers in this building, specifically Morgan Stanley. Other brokers, other firms. They now know that building one went boom. They look at their trading, their screens on the options market. They see puts on American Airlines and United skyrocketing in value. So they're sitting there at their desk. They look out the window. They see out of the corner of their eye another big fucking plane. Dun, 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 dun. So now you've got a choice. Do I stay or do I go? If I stay, I'm going to make a shitload of money on these options. If I run away, I'll live. Okay, so we know how the story goes from there. The second building comes in. Here's the South Tower. Oh my God. Oh, building number 2. What happened to the guy who was making that existential decision? What happened to him?
Made loads of money.
Putting aside for a second that there was another building that fell by itself, and I figured out why. It was so horrified by the other 2 falling, it committed suicide. It just looked out and said, oh my God, I can't deal with this world anymore, I'm going to implode. So I'm going to commit suicide. Alright, so what happened to this, my example of the plug? Attack! Apparently, if we look at the records of the trading in the brokerage firms, there was, in fact, money in Alex Brown, a firm right next to the CIA in Langley, Virginia. It was run by a guy named Buzzy Krongard, who I worked for when I worked for Alex Brown, who then went over to work for the CIA under George Tenet as the deputy director of the CIA. There's $5 million in cash sitting in an account that had been the byproduct of trading options. And that money was never collected. So we know a couple things. A, that there was obviously trading based on the knowledge that there was going to be a huge, horrific event of these airplanes hitting these buildings. Yes. And it looks like, from what my understanding and talking to people myself, that there's some guy made that decision to take the money over his own life. So he's not with us anymore. He couldn't collect the money because he's fucking dead. Here's something that was in the Financial Times not too long ago. This is the kind of shit that they want us to believe. It says here, a fear of numbers has left many Britons unable to assess the arguments of politicians, officials, due to financial and economic and statistical illiteracy. It's a numeracy deficit. Do you consider yourselves to be numerically deficient in the audience?
When you look at your gas bill, yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So, in other words, you look at your gas bill and you're like, wait a minute, I'm not imagining that. That's actually going up in a way that doesn't make any sense in terms of what the government is telling me. So here's an example of what happens when you don't rein in these bankers. Just to give you a couple of examples that I picked, many. Dental abuse seen driven by private equity investments. Okay, private equity investments are driven entirely by Mark Carney's ultra-cheap interest rates. Without those ultra-cheap interest rates, 98% of all this shit wouldn't go down. So here's an example. Isaac Gaiman stepped off the school bus sobbing last October. His mother saw steel crowns on his teeth. A dentist statement in his backpack said he had received 2 root canals, the crowns, and 10 x-rays at school without any notification. Isaac's dentist was dispatched to his school by Reach Out Healthcare America, a dental management services company that's in the portfolio of Morgan Stanley Private Equity that operates in 22 states and deals with 1.5 million patients. Right, so here you have a predatory private equity group who's snatching kids out of school and giving them involuntary root canals to pay for their yachts. Right? That's just one example of many due to Mark Carney's ultra-low interest rates. Here's, they paid a fine. They still made $700 million. The HSBC that came out just recently, if I hear what the government of this country says, they have a group called Hezbollah on the terrorist list, according to the government. Well, HSBC apparently was financing Hezbollah. They don't say they weren't. They don't deny it. They're not even going to go to court to contest it. They say, well, maybe we'll pay a fine. That's it. What does the government do? They give them more free money. They give them more of this 0% money to go do more drug laundering, to go do more insider trading, to do more LIBOR manipulation, more Forex manipulation, more energy market manipulation, more gold market manipulation, more stock market manipulation, more VIX, VIX, volatility, option trading manipulation. It's all manipulated to get to one same point at the end of the day. All cash that's not nailed down is going to be stolen from you. It's all going to be stolen. It's all going. All your pension money, all that money in your pension accounts is being stolen. Because, here's how they're going to do it. The interest rates, because they're near 0%, how many of you have a pension account? How many of you have savings? You know that over the past 5 years you were getting maybe 4 or 5% in a normal economic environment run by normal, rational people, not kleptocrats. You get 4 or 5%. That's historic average. Annuities, insurance contracts, savings account, pensions, they pay 5%. They assume a 5% return. Then when they sell you that contract, you're going to say, lock you into your pension for 20 to 30 years. They say, well, we're going to get about 5% a year. And then at the end of 30 years, you're going to get your retirement money. But returns have been 1%, 0.5%. And according to these central bankers, they're going to stay that way for the foreseeable future. So your pension accounts, if you were to dig down and look into what they actually own, you would find that they are 50, 60% less than what you're being told at your company, at your government, at your bank. And to top it up, to say we need to top up your retirement fund, to top up your pension fund, they're going to come to you this week, this month, this year, and say, we need to take more of your wages, more of your income, more of your money to top up your pension account. Because we channel it all to Blackstone, private equity, so they can rip teeth out of kids and give them involuntary root canals. Because the government and the bankers together, that's a fascist terrorist organization. That by definition, there's no equivocation here. I'm not, going out on a limb by saying this is the worst example of fascism we've seen in 30, 40, 50 years. Am I? Here's Wells Fargo Bank in America. What?
What you do?
I love you, yeah. I love you, yeah. And I don't know the rest of the song. We all live. So, Wachovia, Wells Fargo Bank, 300 billion Mexican drug cartel money laundering.
Can you explain to us about mark to model and mark to market, and how the banksters mark to model when they should be marking market?
Okay, great question. Gotta get some oxygen. Where's my, first of all, how many people understand that question? Well, you're financially illiterate. That means we can lawfully steal all your money. All right, so the question is mark to market versus mark to model. So again, it gets back to this area of minimum capital requirements on a bank's balance sheet. It gets to the idea that banks have to have a certain amount of cash on hand to deal with the day-to-day operations. To be prudent, there must be prudent with cash on hand. So they have in their portfolios, of course, lots of stuff. They've got, bonds. In a tragic. Then Max Clifford came along.
What about sales?
Fortunately, we've got a new pope who looks good. We've got the old pope. When I'm in Dublin, that doesn't go over well. But so anyway, Blair. Let's not forget going back to the days. This is a true story in the Financial Times reporting that Blair. They launched a serious fraud office investigation to a slush fund between British Aerospace and the Saudi government. And so they were going along on this investigation. Prince Bandar of Saudi Arabia didn't like what was going on. So according to the press, according to FT, they confirmed that in number 10 Downing Street, he told Tony Blair that if you don't call off this investigation into the slush fund, I can't guarantee there won't be another 7/7 style terrorist attack in London. So you have a sitting prime minister getting threatened with a terrorist act by a Saudi prince just after 16 Saudis just blew away the fucking World Trade Towers. And what does he do? Fuck me hard! Fuck me hard! Fuck me, Prince Bandar! I'm sorry.
You always see in newspaper columns, the financial regulator says this, or we should respect the financial regulator because he's there to regulate the banks. But it's a fucking...
Well, ideally, if you go back to Adam Smith and the Wealth of Nations and the Theory of Moral Sentiment, which is a fine, outstanding piece of literature, a product of the Enlightenment, there is a place for regulation. As he said, whenever you put two or more shopkeepers in a room together, the chances of collusion are guaranteed. So there must be a referee. There must be a regulator. It's okay for you guys to all be profit-seeking, rent-seeking fucks, but there has to be some rule. That's at the end of the day. There's got to be a rule, right? So that's the idea. Unfortunately, we currently have no regulators. There's no regulators. The FCA is completely non-effective. The Serious Fraud Office does nothing. The SEC was caught busted watching porn all day long. True story. So there is no regulators. And ultimately, the Bank of England has the one instrument that could impose regulation in a heartbeat that would get rid of 90% of the fraud. By simply raising interest rates and raising the cost of financial terrorism, it would eliminate most of it. But he says he has nothing to do. He says there's a housing bubble, but I can't do anything about it. That's false. You can raise interest rates. He says there's not enough housing. Well, say, if you're in London and you can't buy a flat for $50 million, move to fucking Liverpool. We've got plenty of housing in Liverpool. Is there a flat shortage in Liverpool? Is there? There's a lot of flats in Liverpool. In Manchester, Birmingham. Those are the only 3 towns I know. And everything in between. So, he's wrong. Mark Carney's wrong. He can raise rates. Of course, people who do have homes will say, wait a minute, that means my mortgage goes up and I'm screwed. And that's true. But the fact is that your mortgage rate's going to go up anyway because the bond market Ponzi is going to blow up at some point. Your adjustable rate mortgage is going to gap up 5-6 points anyway, and you're going to be fucked anyway. The only question is, do you want to be managed the way you're getting funds now, so that maybe you can do it in a way that's more manageable, or are you going to wait for a crisis where suddenly, in the fog of a financial crisis, you open Times, the election finished, Nigel Farage is now the Prime Minister. Because that's the risk. That is the risk. And Nigel Farage is a guy who... The other guys are so fucking... It's not that he's necessarily, you know, the other guys are so terrible that he's just there waiting. He's just waiting for them. He's just waiting for this crisis. Because in the crisis, people are going to try another bailout. There's going to be more austerity. There's going to be riots. They're going to be like, fuck it, give the ball to Farage. I'm back to the pain. It can't be worse than these guys. Okay? I believe the same strategy was around in 1930 over there in Germany. I mean, I'm not making that equivalency. I'm just saying it's politically upheavalist times, which is not even a word, upheavalist. But I read that Shakespeare invented like 1,600 words, so I'm using the Shakespeare defense. So the answer is that there should be regulators. There are no regulators. The Bank of England is the ultimate regulator, and it's not doing even... It's like, Mark Carney, you have only one fucking job. You just raise rates. You know, Alan Greenspan in 1996, he said irrational exuberance. The market's going to crash. Did he raise rates like he's supposed to as a central banker? No. Did the markets crash? Yeah, it's called the 1987 stock market crash. I was there. I lived it. So if you're going to be a central banker and you're going to say that the market, like Mark Carney said that the housing bubble is in a bubble. He said it's in a bubble. So if he doesn't raise rates, then he's not doing his job. He can't say, oh, it's up to the government to build more houses. No, you fucking moron. It's up to you to raise rates. That's your fucking job. I hate that fucking guy. He's terrible. He's worse